You are listening to the CAD podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CAD podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CAD podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am your fun host, Jim Coppinger, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime.
Who said you're fun?
I said I'm fun. You didn't even tell people your name. You can't insult me until you tell them your name.
What is my name?
I have names for you, but this is a PG-13 show, man. I can't be dropping that. I tell them what your wife calls you.
Oh, boy. It's Rocco.
It's Rocco. Rocco, who is here with us again, as always. So, cool. So, what are we talking about today? So today we're talking about using CAD for a faster building systems layout. And that's an interesting topic, right? And mainly because not a lot of people know what I mean when I say building systems. So let's put it like this, right? So I think that we have... Rocco, I think you and I, we have a subset of listeners for this podcast, right? It's a smaller group. And it's true in the construction world in general, right? It's a subset of listeners who get forgotten about. And they're what we tend to call the system design and installation folks. Right? And these are the people who kind of straddle the world between design and build. And what I'm talking about here really are small companies, right? Who do a lot of very specific work in the trades, right? Things like, life safety and security, fire protection guys, plumbing guys, audio guys, AV guys, all of that kind of stuff. They do these little, isolated system structures. And I think that they tend to get ignored a lot on the technology side because they're considered too small of a target, or it's just assumed by a lot of folks that, the architects and the engineers kind of handle all that design work. So the system people, right, they don't need software. Right? They just install what somebody else has designed for them. And I think that's a big mistake, right? Both from the software developer side, right? Because you're missing some sales there. And from the systems companies themselves who tend to accept that reasoning. And I think there is a big need for layout and design tools for even the smallest system installers. If for no other reason than to help them provide the real world, routing and layout and equipment pieces that their field staff is going to need, right? Instead of just letting them, kind of wing it in the field and hope there's a way to actually route their conduits and things around those giant steel beams that the architect didn't consider when he just slapped a couple of security lights up on the wall. And I think not just that, but I think, smaller companies like these, they tend to run on really tight budgets. Right? And being able to verify layouts and do a lot more detailed cost estimating a lot more quickly. Things like that can have a really positive impact on those companies' profitability. Right? And today I want to talk about how affordable and lightweight CAD and PDF takeoff systems can really improve that daily work for folks living in that system space. Okay? So, Rocco, What kind of interests do you see in this space from our Zentech clients, right? I mean, are a lot of our systems-based companies that we're talking about here today, are they looking for better ways to handle their layouts and handle their estimating?
Yeah, we do talk to a lot of people who are looking for better ways, and it's, everybody's looking for better, quicker, faster, right? Especially in today's age where everybody needs it now and you're short staffed. So, we definitely talk to people all over the country, and large and small, right? I mean, it's not just, one little subset. So that definitely.
Okay. All right. So, before I even kind of get into talking about some of the software systems and how they work for system installers and folks like that, I actually want to take a minute, and I'm going to address the thought that I know is going through a lot of our listeners' brains right now, right? They're thinking, well, I know how to set up and install things. I'm not some...
he's a mind reader now.
I'm a mind reader. I can do that. And listen, I can read Rocco's mind. He's thinking Jim's a jackass. Jim's a jackass. I mean,
how did you know?
it was amazing. See, I am a mind reader. But yeah, no, I mean, whenever I bring up this kind of conversation, right, people are always, they're thinking, hey, man, look, I don't do CAD work. I'm not a CAD geek. I'm not an engineer. That's not what I do. I install wires and cables and, bells and alarms, right? And like I said, it's a real common thing that I hit whenever I'm talking to clients in this space. And look, a lot of these, even these small business owners, they're tradespeople who are absolute experts at what they do. But they seem to have this innate fear or at the very least a resistance to the idea of design softwares. Okay? They see them as too complex, too time consuming, right? It's not really meant for them. It's for the architects and engineers, and I get it. Right? CAD systems and things like that are usually marketed to those, professional licensed designers, right, and engineers, or even, the high-end construction GCs. But the whole point of today's podcast is to show everybody that these tools aren't just for those, traditional users, right? You can easily have any of these complex CAD and PDF systems set up to do only the things that you specifically need, and to train your staff on how to use those specific tools in just a couple of hours, right? So yeah, you're absolutely right. CAD and estimating systems, they can be really, really complicated with thousands of tools and options and processes. But the thing is, you don't need to know how to use those or even know that they're there. You don't care. It's very much, I look at it, think of it like driving a car, right? Cars are really complex machines with thousands of interacting parts and detailed computer-controlled interactions. But do you really need to know how all those parts work just in order to drive one? No, you leave that to the eggheads and the gearheads, right? You get in, turn the key, and you go. Right? That's what we can do, right? CAD and takeoff systems can work exactly the same way. You get them set up, usually by a consultant, kind of like Zentech. And then you just point and click to place items where they need to go on your plans. And that gets you all the information and details that you need, right? If the setup's done right, you'll have a very small set of tools for your specific type of work, right? And then you just throw in one quick lesson for your people on how to use those, handful of tools. And that's usually all they need to get them rolling, right? So, Rocco, how many of our clients have you seen are interested in developing simplified tool sets, whether it's in CAD or a PDF-based system? Tools that are just kind of, like I said, these point-and-click functions for their end users. Are we seeing that as a growing trend?
We definitely see it, and I think it's a little bit, to be honest with you, a little bit more towards the larger firms, but it's it definitely have a lot of discussions across the board. And it's not always as simple as they think it is, but it's not always as complicated as they think it is either. I mean, it comes down to, to spending some time with each individual customer and understanding what their specific needs are.
Right. Exactly. And like I said, I just want to specify, just so we don't confuse what Rocco was just saying, it's not always easy to set it up on the background for us, but that's not your problem, right? That's what you're paying the consultant to deal with. Yeah, for the end users, it's real easy. Look, so what I think, the real good thing about these kinds of tools we're talking about here is that they can be easily configured to give you all of the information that you need as they're being placed, right? So, what does you need to know? Do you need to know, the make, the model, the manufacturer of an individual component? Not a problem. We can do that. Do you need to measure, lengths of pipe or have the system tell you how many strap hangers you're going to need? All right, or even installation costs for each linear foot, right? You need to know how much per labor, how much for material. No problems. We can do all of those things, right? In either of these systems, right? And any type of data that you have been manually writing out, or maybe you built your own little Excel spreadsheet, or you've got some other system, right? All of those can be automated into these software systems, right? And that saves you not just time, right, for ease of use and placement, but it gives you parts lists, bills of material, estimates that are way more accurate than anything that you're doing by hand, right? Take in one of these CAD-based systems, right, which is not traditionally what these installers use. A consultant can easily build simple tool palettes that just kind of dock and show up on the side of your screen with all of the parts, pipes, conduits, controllers, right, whatever you need, and have all of the associated data populate tables and schedules right on the plan, or even export them out to an Excel file if you need to send them for pricing and quoting, whatever you need. And PDF-based systems, right, particularly the estimating ones, can do the same thing, right? And you can even build right in place, right inside those PDF systems, all of your formulas, right, that you need for, percentage of waste, right, delivery fees, high room installations, long distance carries for pipe, whatever you need, right? And the other nice thing I think about both of these systems is that when changes need to be made, whether it's from the field or there was a design change, or the floor plans changed by the architect or the engineer, all of those tables and reports and so on, they all update dynamically. Meaning you go in, you added some new elbows, you changed some elevations, right? Your bill of materials and your costs and your pricing, all that just updates. It changes on the fly, right? And that really is the kind of benefit that these installers and systems designers they can't ignore. Right? It makes you more accurate, faster, you're more responsive, and that helps you win more work, right? And keep everything profitable, which is why we are all in business. So that's kind of the point we want to get on here today. So all right, so let's take a quick break to hear from today's sponsor. And when we get back, I want to get into the pros and cons of CAD systems versus PDF systems for this type of work, and who are the best players in those markets. All right, so stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco, so we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No one wants to talk about you. Not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about Zentek Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like Zentek Tech Blocks. Zentek Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on Zentek's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right, so Zentek Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, zentekconsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentekconsultants.net.
All right, Zentek Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. And we are talking about using CAD and PDF takeoff systems for working in the systems design and installation space. I wish I had a better name for it than that, but hopefully you all guys know who I'm talking about here. And I want to talk first about the CAD side of this coin, right? Because it's the area that is actively avoided by most small contractors in this space. And it's partly because of the perceived complexity, right, that I mentioned earlier. But it's also about the cost of the CAD system itself, right, which is actually a really fair concern, right? CAD systems are never cheap. There are, however, benefits, right, to CAD that can really help mitigate those pricing issues, right, especially if you put a bit of planning into your work process, right? So, one of the biggest benefits that I see on working with CAD files is that a good chunk of your work may already be done for you, right? Look, like we were saying earlier, on a lot of jobs, the architect or the engineer may have done the initial design, right? They've done a kind of a rough layout of your system. And it's usually enough to get approvals, etc., right, so they can get the job going and bid. But it is almost never good enough to actually build from or even to bid from. because the designers, they just don't know enough about the practical installation process, right? They never take the time to consider the component pieces, the tight spaces you got to work in, the number of line cuts or extra emergency backup wiring and so on that you're going to need. All of that needs to be addressed. And those are the things that you need to handle as the systems installer, right? But still, having the initial layout already done, even if it's just, a line running from a control box to a bell on the wall, that saves you a lot of time and money, right? You can use those lines, easily convert them over to your own standards so they look the way you want with your information. And then just add in the individual pieces and components that you really need, and have the CAD system build your parts, your parts list and BOMs and such from that. I also think working in a CAD system like that, it also gives you a really solid base for your as-builts down the road on the job, right? It's a lot easier to open up a drawing file and modify it, with your own setups and designs to show your field changes than to try and get away with submitting some hand sketches, or trying to go back and create something from scratch on a sketching or markup system, right? Those are really time-consuming and expensive processes, right? So when it comes to CAD systems for the type of work we're talking about here today, there are really, I guess, two big players that can really kind of give you the type of configuration capabilities that you need to build your own tools, and those are AutoCAD and BricsCAD, right? And both are almost identical in terms of functionality. Either one of them is going to let you build custom tools, add attribute data, to those tools for things like, the make, the model, the cost, and so on. And both of those systems can pull that data out to a table in the drawing or out to a spreadsheet. So the only real difference between the two of these is ease of use and cost. And I will give the edge actually to BricsCAD in both of those categories. I think that BricsCAD is a bit more user-friendly in terms of accessing those tools. Once you've customized them, it's a little easier for an inexperienced CAD user to find them and access them and use them in BricsCAD. And when we get into terms of pricing, BricsCAD actually just wins hands down. So Rocco, you're a sales guy, right? So what is the price difference in general? I know there are different versions, but between BricsCAD and AutoCAD, and is that a big influence on people when they're choosing, right? And also, while we're talking about this, I know we have a webinar coming up on how to use BricsCAD specifically for the system folks we're talking about here to do this process in CAD. So also tell folks how they can access that and register for it.
Yeah, so there's different levels of BricsCAD that you can look at, but if we stick with the core BricsCAD Pro, you could either get it as an annual license or as a one-time perpetual license with optional annual maintenance. So an annual license of BricsCAD Pro runs $720 versus a perpetual license runs $960 with optional annual maintenance at $240. So if you're comparing it to AutoCAD, you could actually buy AutoCAD month to month, and it's somewhere like $225 a month, or like $1,700, $775 a year.
Yeah.
So
it's like half the price.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I said, you definitely win.
There's no way to get a perpetual license of AutoCAD.
Yeah, they don't do that.
Yeah. So, and when it comes to the to the webinar, yeah, it's coming up on September the 8th. So you can register right at zentechconsultants.net. And if you listen to us after September the 8th, then it'll be available on our website on demand. So you can check this out either way.
Good deal. All right. So I get the second process that we wanted to touch base on here today that can be really useful for systems companies is working with a PDF-based quantity takeoff estimating system. These systems, they use the PDF version of the construction documents, as a base to lay out and design your system. And the real benefit here is that PDF files are always available on every one of your jobs. They're the common file type that we all get for bidding and reference on any modern project. Nobody wants to send you paper anymore. They just want to give you the PDFs. The drawback here to this is that you can't use the line work and the symbols from the drawing files, right, as part of your design when you're working with a PDF, right? You're essentially going to have to recreate them on top of those PDF construction documents. The good thing, though, in working with these PDF-based systems is, that these type of softwares have a much greater range of features available to you for handling advanced costings, formula calculations, dynamically updating, things as the installation changes. When you start to look at more like the big players in this market, tools like Bluebeam Review, right, which we talk about all the time, you can easily, build tool sets that have the system handling all of your calculations, whatever they may be, in real time as you sketch out lines and add symbols to the underlying PDF. And that eliminates, I think, the need to do, a full quantity takeoff in a system, right? And then, transfer the quantities from that to a spreadsheet or a different costing program, right? And then have to work through like 2 or 3 different workflow processes to get your pricing. In a system like Bluebeam, right, you can set up reusable tool sets, right, just like you can in the CAD system, that everybody in your company can use to just simply point and click their way to really fast and very accurate designs and takeoffs. And the other thing that I really do like about PDF-based systems is that you can just do layouts, you can just do estimates, or you can do a combination of both depending on how you work. Essentially what I'm saying is, we can structure these into different profiles so that, different people get different types of tools depending on their job role. So, I can give, the owner tools just for commenting, reviewing the layout, while your field supervisor gets, tools to, quickly adjust the layouts and do the designs and add in and modify component systems and track pricing and so on. We can adjust those tools to each specific user's needs, which is really nice. So, Rocco, I know we do a ton of work here at Zentech with customizing tool sets and so on for our clients. What percentage of those people that we work with would you say are smaller systems-based contractors? Not necessarily smaller in terms of size of companies versus, like big GCs and building product manufacturers. How many of them fall into this systems design space?
Yeah, there's definitely enough. I mean, it's hard to pin down an exact number with how many folks we work with, but there's a lot of, for example, folks that do security work, right? Mm-hmm. And all the symbol work that goes into that. Definitely get a lot of people within the security industry that come to us. So it all depends on what you're doing, but it's across the board. I mean, we work with a lot of folks that do steel fabrication or even a lot of HVAC work. Yeah. Right. Am I covering? Does anybody else pop to mind?
No, I mean, I say pretty much anybody in that set. We do see a lot of them. At least the ones who actually come through and get processed as projects and come to me. There's a good chunk of those. So. I think it's a worthwhile thing that everybody listening should look into those PDF-based systems. And look, whether you decide to go with a CAD system or a PDF-based system, the big key, the thing you have to consider up front here is that you're going to need to engage with a consultant, right? And look, I personally recommend Zentech, but to be fair, I might be a little bit prejudiced there. So, but whoever you choose to work with, you need someone who is going to take your specific parts, your tools, right? Your data properties, your formulas, and use what you need to build the simplest set of tools possible that's just going to show up for your end users to just click on and use without ever having to worry about the back end how-to stuff, right? Things that we think about with CAD systems like layers and line types and data fields and settings and options, all of that should already be handled by the consultant, right? You want your systems design staff to focus on putting together a really well thought out system. They should never even consider whether or not, does this particular tool look right or is it giving me good info? it should just do that, right? Going back to my earlier analogy, right? It's just like when you get into your car. You expect that the brakes are going to work when you press on them, right? You shouldn't be thinking about the rotor thickness or the drum pad tolerances. Yes, you're going to have to pay a firm like Zentech up front to build these tools to your specifications. But when those tools are going to increase your profitability on every single job, they're going to win you extra work, more projects, and they're going to cut your as-built submittal time dramatically, right? That investment up front, you can see, is going to pay for itself really, really quickly. Right? And look, not only that, but it helps give Rocco and I paychecks, right? So that our wives will let us keep putting up this silly little podcast each week. And then you guys are all entertained. See? So everybody wins, even Rocco. Right, Rocco?
Right.
Right. See, Rocco agrees, so it must be right. All right, folks. So with that, we're going to wrap it up here for today's conversation. And we will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.